Hey, party people. Welcome to today's video. Today, we're going to talk about the future of fashion illustration. And today I have with me Mr. Marcus Khan, the founder of Draw a Dot and a fashion illustration connector in the industry. I'm so excited to talk about fashion illustration. And he is actually going to answer all the questions that you asked in the poll that I posted in the YouTube community tab. So before we get to your questions, Marcus, please introduce yourself to my YouTube audience, who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marcus. I'm the founder of Draw a Dot. I started this fashion illustration community in 2013. Originally, I planned to just showcase some of my favorite fashion illustrations from all around the world on my blog and also on Instagram. But later on, I started to work with brands on different contests, and somehow I became an agent and represent artists on different in-store events. So I have worked with brands like Burberry, Versace, Valentino, Victor and Rolf, you name it. I have done something with them before. So right now we do have also an online store to actually help artists to actually sell their works, to give them a platform to try to figure out how to sell their artworks to the audience. And of course, so you are also part of the Patreon group. So maybe we can talk about that one too. This is the smaller community where we are helping illustrators to develop their skills and also help them to build a more solid foundation so that they can they can get more jobs.
Yeah, so I'm going to drop links to all of Marcus's stuff, the online store, the Patreon, his Instagram in the description box below. I highly recommend that if you are interested in pursuing fashion illustration as a career, to check out his Patreon. I'm a member of his Patreon, and the group has a Discord where the members talk amongst themselves with Marcus. I'm in there too. And it's good. It's like we give each other feedback. We talk about fashion news. We, congratulate each other on jobs scored and, give each other feedback on work. It's like networking and making friends. And, if you have watched my How to Network video, you know that I strongly emphasize building of true and sincere relationships within networking and not just like, hi, what can you do for me? Sort of networking, right?
Yes.
And so this is why, even though I'm not trying to like pursue an illustration career at this point, I love being part of that group for the community and also just like keeping up with the industry and learning about what's going on in fashion illustration. Well, that's for me personally, but that's also something you can get out of it as well.
Yes, and we also have a lot of activities every month as well. So we do have a monthly Zoom session on different topics such as like NFT. We recently talked about online store and also teach you how to build a portfolio. And every every month we also do a live sketch session together. For example, if it is during Fashion Month, then we probably have a couple of them because some of the brands I have connections. So after doing the sketches, I can show it to the brand, and there's a chance for you to get more exposure because they might want to share it on their social media account as well. And because I'm an agent for Patreon members, there are times that if my roster doesn't have that particular style, I'm going to look into our Patreon group because I know those Patreon members are more serious about like building the career, and I want to give those opportunities to those people as well. Finally, Fashion Week, I actually am sending some illustrators to the backstage to
Shut
fashion.
up.
Yep, to do some live sketching. So this is a one of
I
kind
like live sketching. I'm in your Patreon. Why aren't you sending me?
because you're not in New York, you're not in Milan.
Listen. If you're like, hey, Zoe, go to Milan and I'll send you backstage at some show, I would buy a ticket immediately. Shut up. How dare you?
Next season, there's always next season. But yes, I do have connection with brands because I do have an agent in Europe as well, and she can actually help me to like connect to different brands and see if we can send illustrators to Milan, Paris, or even New York. So
I really love live sketching.
yes.
Like
So
the
live.
first time I did it, I was so terrified. but it's such an adrenaline rush. It's so fun.
Yeah. And if you're really good at doing live sketching, there are actually a lot of job opportunities as well. So we can probably go into that later in this video.
Okay, before we get into that, I just want to say one more thing about your Patreon, the Draw a Dot Patreon that I really love is when you do have guest speakers. My favorite was, of course, Yuri, the textile,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
the print designer who used to work at Dries Van Noten. I've I learned so much from him, and we connected on Instagram. We're pals. We DM and stuff. So let me, if y'all like print designers, if y'all are interested in hearing from Yuri and his experiences at Dries and his business now, and all things print design, let me know in the comments, and I will try to get on the
Yeah,
channel.
but I also have a video. I still have that video in the Patreon group. So if you
Oh, and they
join, you
can
can
access
actually
that if
watch
they
back.
join.
Yeah, you can watch back all the past videos. But of course, Zoe, you probably have more like questions to ask Yuri on like textile things because I'm going general, but you are probably going very, very deep. Yeah.
So let's jump to the questions. I did make a list of the most frequently asked questions and the questions that got the most likes, as in
Yep.
people are the most interested in talking about these things. So number one, do you think long term being a fashion illustrator is a living wage career?
The answer is also a question. How passionate about like how are you do you see the passion in doing drawing? Do you like drawing? um can you spend few hours a day to draw? Is this your or if this is just a hobby, if this is just a hobby, then stay with it. Don't think about making a lot of money, because I think that if you want to treat this as a long-term career, you need to put effort and energy in it. But if you say that I have other things in mind, then fashion illustration is not going to be your thing, because this industry right now, because of social media, is super competitive. There's just so many artists out there right now looking for jobs. Some people are really successful, can actually make this as a career because they work hard. They reach out to people. They connect. They have the right connections. So that's the short answer for that. Obviously, there are more I can talk about. What about you? What do you think, Zoe?
I think it's a matter of whether you decide that you're going to prioritize it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're not prioritizing it, then you can come up with a lot of excuses for why your career didn't work out. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't have time. It's like, well, try to remove things from your life that you don't need and
Yeah.
put this as a priority.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have money for a lot of materials. There are people out there who are just doing pencil and paper drawings, like
Samuel.
Samuel. Like
Sam.
his work is unbelievable. It's all pencil. It's all
Yeah.
pencil. Okay. So you don't need expensive stuff. I don't know anyone. The internet has ruined that excuse for all of you.
Yeah.
Basically. Like,
Yeah.
get online, start talking to people. Like, you can't just build a social media profile and expect people to flock to you.
Yeah.
You have to follow accounts, you have to engage with people, ask questions, DM them, give them compliments, start conversations.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just sit around. So those connections you envy other people for having, you have to start those connections as
Yeah.
well. So it's just a matter of like, did you work hard enough? Did you work smart enough? Like all these like stupid hype sort of like headlines. It's, did you prioritize it?
And there is no overnight success. So don't think about saying that, oh, I did this drawing, I put it up, I tag someone famous. Tomorrow I'm gonna get a job, or I'm gonna get an amazing fruit basket from the celebrity. There's no such thing. You have to work really hard on this. I mean, social media is good, but it's not enough for you to say, I'm just going to sit back and relax and wait for people to come and approach me. You have to build a really solid foundation. You probably have to go back to the old days, look for emails, contact those people. If you know who is the creative director or marketing, or the marketing person for this brand, approach them, show them your work. Those are the people who can actually have the budget to like hire you to do some work. Social media person, they actually don't have a lot of power. I have talked to some brands before, usually social media, who handle social media? The interns. And let
Yeah,
me
because
tell
a
you.
lot of people, they don't value social media enough to put like a
Yep.
fully paid,
Yep.
highly salaried person in
Yep.
that position.
And interns don't have a lot of power. They always have to go through different departments. So in this case, you might as well, okay, sure, if you like that dress, draw it and then tag the brand. And if they reply, if they do it, you can, I would say one of the tips is try to see if they can connect you to the marketing department. You might have a better chance.
I have a question for you that I get a ton in
Yes.
terms of design usually, but I think it relates.
Yeah.
So I have students who don't want to put their portfolio online, who don't want to share work because they're constantly afraid that someone is going to steal their work. What do you
Why?
think about that?
You should be proud of your own work. If you're not even willing to actually show this to the public, then who is going to see your work?
Well,
That's the
Marcus,
biggest.
people are going to steal it.
People gonna steal it. I mean, you gotta keep. You're not gonna just make one artwork. You're gonna keep producing it. I have a lot of artists actually complain this as well because they will be like, "Oh my god, this brand actually took my work and put it on T-shirts." Obviously, you have to find a way to sue them or stop them from doing it. But you have this is like this both sides for each opportunity. If you don't show it to the public, who's gonna find you? I'm not gonna know your work. But if you show it, obviously there's a chance that people are gonna steal your work. For example, remember we did I did the Draw Dot Together project where we tried to promote anti-Asian like hate crime, and one of the illustration actually got reposted by so many celebrities, and someone actually took the print and print it and sell it on the street. But at the same time, we can't stop that because some people want to make money out of it. But eventually, because of social media, they will eventually find who is the real artist. And they will DM, like a lot of people actually DM the artist saying that, oh my God, I saw this, I saw this. And eventually, like people will know and will not support those people. So same with artists who is not willing to publish their work. You can do is do watermark on your artwork. You can put a signature on your artwork. If you don't want to show a lower quality of your artwork because you can save it. You can scan it. Scan like instead of doing 100% high res, do 50% because if it's on the print, it will look really ugly, pixelated. And then if it's on a shirt, you can't even see anything. It's going to be so blurry and ugly, so no one's going to buy it. But my suggestions is you need to promote yourself, even though like social media right now is free. There's both sides of this. The good side is you can start to think about how to use social media to promote yourself. But at the same time, obviously, people might want to steal your stuff. But you can also use social media to call them out. I'm sure I've seen a lot of artists do that all the time. It's like, oh my God, this brand took my print. And then I'm gonna call like, and then can you help me to like stop this brand from doing it? If the followers are actually really loyal to your work, they will do it. And
People
eventually
tell me all the time when
yep.
people steal my videos.
Yep.
Like
Like,
most of the time, they'll be like, Zoe, this person has like a whole video of yours on their website without
yep,
crediting you. They tell me
yep,
all the time. Yeah.
yep. But it's the same as all the YouTube videos because, for example, if MTV is showing a clip of a performance, I'm sure the artists like fans will also record that clip and put it on their own YouTube channel. You can't really stop that. I mean, eventually, because you're famous, you have made it. That's why people want to like copy you or do the like steal your work. If you're not famous, who cares? So you should actually treat this as sort of like a little compliment because, oh my God, I'm getting noticed by people now. And whenever you start to get noticed by people, some things bad will usually like happen. And it really depends on your mindset. Am I going to keep going or I'm going to like get depressed and say, oh my God, people are taking my work? I would say keep going because ultimately people who want to work with you will know who is the original artist. Like, for example, if someone steal your artwork, and then the brand approached that person, that person cannot recreate that illustration because that person has no skills.
Yeah, that's the beauty of illustration even more than design. It's like it's so much harder to
Yep.
recreate
Yep.
and mimic your line quality or the way you use color, your brushstroke, all these things. Like
Yes.
they can't imitate it.
So yeah, it's 2021. You have to get yourself out there. No one can help you. If you can promote yourself, no one can promote you. Like, you can show me your artworks and I would say, "Oh my god, this is amazing. Can you publish it?" If you say no, then I will be like, "Then what do you
What
want
am
me
I
to
supposed to
do?"
do with it?
Yeah, I will be like, "What do you want me to do with it? Do you want me to show it privately?" Like,
Uh,
I like, even on my website when I have the agency, I have to show people's work. So if you give me the artwork, I see so much potential in you, and you're like, "I don't want people to see it," then sure. You know what happened? You'll be famous once you die. Because after you die, we probably like someone will probably go to your computer and take all your artworks and put it online. Then sure, you will get money after you die, but it will be too late.
I actually did tell my husband that once I die, he needs to burn all my sketchbooks because I don't want anybody to see all of that.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm like,
So
once I die, you will erase my internet history and you
yeah,
will burn all my sketchbooks.
yep.
All right. So this segues into our kind of our next grouping of questions. How do I get a job as a fashion illustrator and what kind of jobs out there for fashion illustrators?
So for Fashion Illustrator, there are a lot of subcategories. You can be an in-house artist for brands. What they do is they will do portraits of the VIPs. I know Dior has a position like that, so keep an eye on that. And I also know that artist too. So yes. Then also what you can do is I think one of my Patreon members got hired by a brand in Italy. It's a pretty big brand too, just in-house sketching, like doing designs. So create prints. If you like to do prints, textile, that's the way to go. Like Yuri, basically, he does all the prints for Dritz back then. That's a way to go. You can also be a teacher. If you're really good at drawing, you can just like apply to colleges or even have your own masterclass or online course to teach. You can also, if you are more aggressive, start an online store. But when it comes to online store, there are a lot of things that you need to think about. That's why 2 weeks ago, I actually do a 2-hour session to teach people how to do an online store because I have the data from my online store, and I also have some feedback from a brand.
That was
Tell
a
me
good
like
session.
what can you like what should you make to cater the mass audience. Um, if you are doing portraits, if you like David Danton doing portraits, you don't need an online store, but you need a really good connection because people will commission you to make portraits. But is this going to be sustainable? I don't know. If every month you get 5 to 6 portraits requests and you're charging a grand each, sure, you can survive, no problem. But if you're a starter, you might not charge that high, then you have to figure out what to do. Like, my job is to actually open all the possibilities for you. I try to help you to do to build your foundation and choose, and then you choose the path that works best for you. And some people also like to draw book covers, editorials. Those are the things that you can like. Those are the things that you can do too. But how can you get your first job? You reach out. You enter contests. For example, Jordan, I do a lot of contests and open calls every month. Participate. Do that and then put it in your portfolio. Because the more you participate, if you win, for example, recently I did a contest with private policy, and then the winner, the print actually was print on the shirt. This one. So which is really cool because for that artist, now she has a really good like case to put in the portfolio saying that I have done this, I have won it, I have this physical product. And brands will start to like, okay, maybe I will want to work with this artist. And also, if you want, just try to approach smaller brands, collaborate with them. Doesn't matter. Like you can say, oh, do you need social media campaign with illustration? If they say they do, but they don't have a lot of budget, then you can consider if you want to do it or not. I would say do it because you're new to this. You need artworks to build your portfolio, but ask for a little compensation. It could be money, it could be products. It's really up to you.
Okay, two things. Number one,
Yep,
I have a friend who she's a freelancer in a
yep,
slightly related but not illustration category.
yep,
And so somebody asked her, like, can you do this thing for me? What's
yep,
your day rate? And she said,
yep,
this is my day rate.
mm,
I'll do it for you for half if you put me as your first phone call every time you have another project like this.
yep,
And then you can pay me full for the next projects.
yep,
So she worked that out so that she was paid 50% that first job only.
yep,
But then she guaranteed her next job
yep.
where she was paid full price
That
for
is
that.
smart. That is
Yeah.
smart. You can do that. And at the same time, always like one of the tricks I tell illustrators to do is when before you give the rate, make sure you do some calculation. And then you can also say, this is my regular rate, but because I really want to work with you, this is the rate I'm giving you.
Yeah, she definitely said this
Yep,
is the cheaper rate. Like you have
yep,
to let them know, like normally you're not like this cheap.
yep, yep.
But
And
would
then
you say that most fashion illustrators or a
you,
big percentage of them work more of a freelance lifestyle, freelance gigs? Okay.
yes, absolutely. But I think and then the biggest question is, how do you get the job? That is always the number
Hunt
one
them
question I
down.
get from my illustrators. And the question is, how aggressive are you? How are you approaching your clients? Do you have good connections? Use your connections. If you are really good at doing live sketching, in-store events is a really good way to go. Do you know any store owners that want to do something like that? If not, then do you know anyone that can connect you to some brands or some stores that let you have the opportunities to do that? I can tell you that live sketch events can make you a lot of money. It can be super stressful during that 2 hour, 3 hour period, but after that, you're like, I am done. I don't need to do anymore. And here's my money. Yes, you can do that. And this is why I'm training my artists, my Patreon group to actually do live sketching because you only have 6 to 8 minutes to draw a person. And you have to make sure that it works. Because if they don't like it, they actually will tell the store managers, like, I don't like this artist.
Yeah, I would like to interject by saying
Yeah.
you do not need to work with like Ferragamo as your first client
No,
ever. In
no.
fact, I would recommend you don't. Like
Yep.
go to your local shoe store or whatever. You know what I mean? Like go to whatever local boutique and say, let's do an event together.
Yep.
And I'm going to do this and we're going to market it together and
Yep.
we're going to draw a crowd and we're going to have
Yep.
a party like a post pandemic, let's get you back in the store and trying things on, like fun party. And I'm
Yep.
going to be there, I'm going to be doing illustrations and you're going to have a sale and blah blah blah. One of the events I did, they only got a portrait from me if
Yep.
they had a receipt for something they bought.
Yep.
So they were kind of like filtering people
Yep.
so that people who were actually buying product were getting portraits done by me because
Yep.
there were a lot of people, you know? So you
Yep.
could do something like that and then get your feet wet with a smaller boutique
Exactly.
and get attention and you're definitely going to get better at it as you go.
Yep. Absolutely. So start with small and then go big and also because when you are working at a smaller store, you are not as stressed as working for a big brand. So those are the things that you should think about. Like start with small, go for the smaller stores, do something fun, enjoy yourself. I always tell my artists like, if you do this kind of live sketch events, make sure you enjoy yourself, talk to people because those people might connect you to other jobs as well.
For sure.
Birthday parties, weddings, those are the money. Like you can make a lot of money making like going to those gigs.
I have a friend who is a print designer
Yep.
for a fashion brand, and she loves watercolor and she doesn't get
Hmm.
to do enough of it. And
Yep.
so she does um, illustration for children's books,
Yep.
but she
That's
has a literary agent. So if you want to illustrate books, you're going to need a literary agent because
yep.
they are in the book world
Yep.
and they have the book connections if you want to get into book illustration. So
Yep.
look into a literary agent for that.
Yeah.
So next question, is there a market for fashion illustration in video game world?
Absolutely.
I
Video
know you're
games.
excited to talk about this. Let's talk about this.
Video gamers have so much money. I have talked to so many artists and tell them to please think of a way to actually combine video game characters and fashion together. Like you can do it as a creative project. Obviously, like you can't sell those prints because both items are copyrighted. Like the character is copyrighted, and then the clothing you don't really want to like deal with, like for example Chanel or LV. They probably will come in after you. But there's so much money there because every single, like from what I know, in a lot of people actually buy a lot of clothing, like accessories for Comic Con. Back in 2012, Prada did a collaboration with Final Fantasy on an editorial. So cool. 3D images, love it. Recently, 2019, Louis Vuitton actually did a collaboration of League of Legends, and they actually create a collaboration too. You can actually buy the products, physical products in store.
That's cool.
That is really, really cool. And recently, Balenciaga did a collaboration with Fortnite. And if you're a gamer, you know Fortnite is one of the most popular games in the world right now. So if you can if you can think of a way to create illustrations based on fashion, like characters and also fashion, you combine them together, there's a really good chance they will want to hire you to do something. Um, I think there's Instagram account called Nonori. I can send it to you later. Maybe you can
Okay,
put it
I'll
in.
put it up on the screen.
Yeah, that is a 3D model. And then she basically just dressed up in different fashion designers' brands.
So
And
is she using like Clo 3D or Marvelous Designer? Do you know what program she's using?
I don't really know. But funny thing is, she is actually represented by a modeling agency.
Oh,
Yeah. So 3D virtual model is another thing. So you have to think about if you can create that character, you dress them up, there is a chance that you will get a lot of attention.
I have the so a lot of you know I have a Facebook group and a lot of people in the group they share work and we talk about our work and
Yeah.
you know give each other feedback and stuff. And I have several people in there who work in Clo 3D and they post work. And one of the people who posts in there fairly regularly, she does video game avatars in Clo 3D. And because she has a design background, she really designs like really fantastical garments that most people can't think of. And she's like, I have a day job, Zoe, but I do pay my electric bill with selling these Clo 3D avatars. I'm like, that's a start. She's
Yep.
paying bills with it. Like, I like it.
There's just so much potential in the video game world. It's more like how are you going to do it and how are you going to execute this? I will say, look at all the most popular games right now, like see which franchise is the most popular. Like you can even do Mario Brothers, you can do Final Fantasy, and then look at the characters because they are already like built, they already create for you to just like look at them, redesign their outfits. That can get a lot of tension because if you're looking for the editorial, probably they will want to hire you to see if you can do something like that for them. Because right now, I don't know how long this photography editorial gonna last because of the pandemic, still a lot of people cannot travel to do all the photo shoots. They have to find a way to present the clothing. And Sometimes they like to have 3D models and then dress them up because that would be really cool. And also, if you look at Vogue, if you look at all those other magazines, they start to have videos as well. So if you're an animator, you might actually get another bonus point because you can probably do a short animation. Imagine if your work is on Vogue, how many people want to hire you after? So I would say start thinking, start brainstorming what you want to do. Don't be afraid, like create what you like to do and see if people respond to it. And don't worry if your first video doesn't work because every day you can produce more and eventually one will hit someone in the internet.
Mhm.
The beauty part of internet is you don't know who's actually looking at your work. And the one too might be using Instagram too with a private
She's got a
account.
Finsta. I bet you she's got a Finsta.
Yeah.
She's got a fake account. So, on that note, I've seen both photorealistic fashion illustration and more esoteric abstract illustration. What are the purposes of both, and which style do you think will dominate the field in the coming years?
Photorealistic work, I would say, is really just showing your skills. If I'm an editor of a magazine, my first question is, I already have a photo. Why would I want to hire you? Give me a reason to hire you to do those works again. But if your market is, I want people to hire me as a custom portrait to do custom portraits, then yeah, you can show that. But is this going to make you a lot of money? I don't really know. I can't really tell you because remember, when you do art, it's supposed to show your creativity. And when I look at your artwork and you're basically just copying from a photo, I already crossed off there is no creativity there, no matter how good your skills are. So basically, I would just say, okay, can you use these skills to create an illustration that is not from a photo, that is not inspired by a photo? If you cannot do it, I don't know why I want to hire you. Like
Yeah.
there's no reason for me to hire you. And a lot of people also abstract, on the other hand, has a lot of potential because first of all, you can't really copy. For example, there's a handbag. Like look at Glenn's work. There's a handbag, and then there could be like a hand coming out. It's all about the artist's world. He's showing you his world, but with products. That
I
part,
think that if you have a photorealistic style,
yeah,
you have to take it beyond copying a photograph, as you were saying. Like,
yes,
you can take a photorealistic style, but you have to incorporate a concept, a really creative concept to it. So maybe like if you draw the drapes of a gown and the drapes look photorealistic, but like the actual concept of the piece has to be above and beyond just a person standing
yep,
on the middle of the paper.
yep. Like I want to see a person jumping or having a really interesting pose, or if you're doing
Backdrop.
yeah backdrop, I want it to be a super surreal black backdrop. Those are the things. Remember, when I look at your artwork, I want to see sort of something that I can relate, that can evoke my emotion. If you just give me a runway illustration, it looks so real, I'll be like, cool, you have amazing skills. But what's the point? Because you're wasting your time and energy because you are not giving your full potential. An artist is supposed to create something that evoke people's emotion and without copying others' work. And also for people who actually do photo manipulation artworks, you got to be super careful because the photographer never gives you the permission to do it. Like you take a picture from Vogue. Obviously, Vogue give credit to the photographer, but the photographer never give you the permission for you to work with their photos. And if you do it, and if you actually sell it, there's a chance that they will come after you because it's my work. Why are you touching my work? So when I talk to my illustrators, I would say try to avoid doing that. Try to like I have talked to some really successful illustrators too. What they do is they're gonna like have sort of like a database of faces, a database of eyes, facial features, and they're just gonna combine it to do different to do different faces. And they will also have different cookies to actually like do different actions, and now have to figure out how to place the garment on the figure. That is what you should be doing. You can be super realistic. If you can do that, good for you. There's a market for it. But if not, you have to figure out how to make it happen, because I can tell you that this area right now, for some reason, is really competitive. And people, if you go to Instagram, you search fashion illustration, many people do this kind of stuff. There's nothing special anymore. And I will look at them like, why would I want to hire you? Because when I do a when if I have a magazine, if I'm editor, I want something special. I want something different. For example, if you say I'm really good at doing photorealistic like portraits, my rate is $1,000 per piece. I can tell you that because this is super popular. Someone probably like, I will do it for $50. And the editor is like, it's the same style. Why not I go for
Because
the
it
cheap?
has no style. It's photorealistic.
Yeah, it's just photorealistic. There's nothing special about it. But if when you actually have a unique style, then people are like, yeah, I have to pay this guy because this person's work is just so unique. We cannot find artists do that. So I think first of all, the number one thing you need to do right now is to discover your own unique style. How can you put a flair on your artwork so people can recognize right away? And this is basically what I do with my Patreon group all the time, is like teach them how to discover that. They will show me a lot of artworks. I'll be like, I think that there's potential here. Can you further develop it? Can you add this element to make it better? So I think I can tell you that photorealistic artwork, I think eventually will go out, because at one point when 3D animators going to get into this game, that whole portion will be like, see you later, because we don't need that. 3D animator can actually make realistic people as well. They
Yeah,
can,
dude, like whatever photorealistic color pencil illustration you're doing is just it's just not going to compete with the animators.
unless you want to go for like just competition, then yes, then go for it.
That's
But
a skill competition. I
yes,
still think like showing interesting concepts is the way to show how you are valuable and
yeah,
irreplaceable.
yeah. If
Because
you
there's
really,
skill sets that you can replace, but if you're somebody who can come up with the ideas and also execute in a cool way,
yeah,
that's okay. The next question is kind of related to that. Can
yeah.
I use whichever specific medium I prefer, or does the market prefer and demand a specific medium? Or does the market demand we use many different mediums?
This is this is a pretty popular question. I've been hearing this question a lot in my own group and also on Clubhouse earlier this year. The answer is it really depends on what you like the most. It doesn't matter whether you hand draw your illustration or you just love to do digital illustration. Ultimately, the goal is I want to look at your concept. I want to look at your skills. I want to make sure that illustration looks super cool on paper or on a campaign. If you're comfortable with using pastel to draw, by all means go for it. Keep going. Because I used to have an illustrator who doesn't like to use tablet to draw digital illustrations. And she's like, yeah, I don't like it because it will lose that personal touch. And I would say, by all means, keep doing it because there's a market for it. And if someone just love to use tablet to do it, then do it. It will save you some money as well, because all you have to do is a tablet and a good stylus to actually draw. Um, in a sense, you might think that the hand drawn illustration is you can price it higher just because of the cost of the paper, of the materials. But aside from that, I would say both of them are equally important right now, because ultimately we're just looking at your style, your skills, and also the subject matters.
I will add one thing is when it comes to uh, hand drawn or hand painted illustrations, a lot of people cannot tell the difference
Yep.
between different mediums.
Yep.
I will post something on Instagram or anything, and people will ask me, "Is that marker? Is that paint?" But people can't tell. Just like your average person who's not like someone who illustrates themselves, your average person can't even tell the difference. So number one, pick the one that you like because that's the one you're most likely going to practice more and get better at because
Yep.
you're enjoying yourself.
Yep.
And I think ultimately they're gonna buy the thing that looks good,
Yep.
and so you just got to work on making it look good. And what's going to help you make it look
Yep.
good? Practice, enjoyment.
Yep. But yeah, don't be afraid to try both those because you can do hand drawn and digital. You can have both skills in your pocket and under your belts because sometimes I do know that for some events the brands will request for digital illustration. Some brands will be like, I want traditional. Can you do traditional stuff? So it will be good for you to do both and practice. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's better to have more skills for people to select than just say, yeah, I can only do watercolor because sometimes that the brands will be like, I like your style. The reason why they don't want people to touch the paper is because of, like, for example, for COVID, they don't want people to touch things. So they would rather you to actually like draw it on tablet and send it to those people. It's like contactless.
I
Or
had a live sketching client who
yep,
always wanted me to work with markers
yep,
because one, they had branded paper
yep,
that they wanted me to use that was
yep,
not suitable at all for watercolor.
yep,
Number two, the product in their store was kind of expensive. They
yep,
did not want me to have jars of watercolor, water, and like this like whole very messy setup. They
yep.
wanted like basically just like a thing
Great.
full of markers, very tidy. They don't want to make a mess that,
Yep,
like with people partying around and stuff.
yep,
So they requested specifically that I use markers or color pencils, like a
yep,
very tidy thing.
yep.
So having more tools in your arsenal definitely helps.
Just practice different like tools, both traditional and digital. I think you can do both. But if you ask me if there's one particular that is better than the other, I will tell you no, because every brand is looking for different things. Yep.
So, on the topic of digital versus hand illustration, I get a lot of questions about digital versus hand. What skills are in demand if you want an illustration job at a company? And two, what is selling better in terms of prints and products?
What is actually in demand for? There's actually no. I don't. I
You don't,
can't
do
think
you
of.
see a trend or
I
is it
don't
just
see a particular trend because, for example, for the jobs that I have done for my like for the brands, they are looking for different things. But ultimately, you got to be creative. They never ask you to just like look at this photo. Can you recreate it? So I think creativity is your main element. Your work should be reflecting who you are and how creative you are. If you are not creative enough, they'll be like, sure, cool, you have good skills. That's it. But we need something because what they do when it comes to the company, like, this is the concept, this is the thing that I want to promote. Can you create something awesome? You're not gonna ask the companies like, can you show me a photo? And then I'm just gonna directly copy the photo to illustration. They will just like, then what's the point for me to hiring you? There is no point.
here's my thing with photorealistic is learning photorealistic can be an excellent stepping stool.
Yep.
It's kind of like a lot of painters when they're in painting school. They go to museums and they set up their easel in front of one of the old masters, one of the great masters, and they try to copy the painting literally brushstroke for brushstroke. But that is a learning tactic. They're not trying to copy it and sell copies. I mean, there's a tiny percentage of them who do that, but their goal is to learn concept. They're not concept. brush strokes, how to manipulate those brush strokes,
Yep.
lighting, how specific painters lit their canvases, things
Yep.
like that. And
Yep.
then they take those techniques that they learned and then they apply it to a style that they develop for themselves.
Yep.
And that it's a stepping stone. So when you see those artists in the museums copying a Rubens, that's what they're doing. And so that's something that teachers of all kinds of drawing and painting will teach you, but eventually it's a stepping stone.
Yep.
At a certain point, you have to know, you have to know how gravity affects hair. So that when you are drawing somebody with long hair and you have wind blowing, your concept is wind blown. If you've only been doing photorealistic and you've only been copying exactly how the wind blows on that runway in that particular way, you're not going to be able to be like, oh, well, hair would go like this. You need to actually study a lot of hair and draw hair
Yep.
and how curly hair bounces as opposed to really straight hair like mine or whatever. So you have to it's always a stepping stone
Yep.
to helping
I
you develop concept.
I always say to illustrators, you can sure, you can mimic someone's style for 5 to 6 months just to understand how it works. But after that, you have to get out of that like mimicking thing, and then you need to develop your own style and you develop your own subjects. Like you need to start creating what is known as your style. Because I will sometimes ask the artist, like, how do you define your style? What's so special about your style? What is the unique element there? I know there's some illustrators just like to do some neon outline. That is really cool. I have seen that. I have seen people just love to just use color pencils to do stuff, but then it's really colorful and it's just so cool when they combine the fashion and the landscape together. Is really cool. I have surreal artists who constantly put like eggs or eyes in their artwork that is recognizable. So my number one question will always be, what is your niche? Like, what is your flair? If you have no flair, sure, your work is good, but it's not good enough for me to pay you a lot of money to do an amazing mural or like even window display, because there's nothing special about there.
On that note, I do think that it can be a really great tool to figuring out your own
Yep.
style
Yep.
by temporarily copying someone else's style. I used to do a project in my illustration class where I wanted them to do an illustration that mimicked a famous illustration, and copy that style, the way they outline something or not outline something, the way they use color, how they shade something, whether it's soft, gradient shading or
Yep.
really bold, crisp shading. And they would have to bring in the illustration so we can compare how well they mimicked the style. And that can be a really great way to figure out what you like.
Yep.
You might decide, I love a heavy, bold line. This is the kind of look that I like. And maybe later on, you play with different kinds of heavy, bold line to
Yep.
incorporate in your own work.
Yep.
But again, that is a stepping stone.
Yes.
Mimicking, Antonio is really in the press right now because of the Fendi collection.
Yep.
They did based on his artworks. And Antonio is someone that my teachers at Otis loved and really pushed us on. And there were things that I loved about his work. There are things where I'm like, it just doesn't mesh with my style.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's fine to study someone and try to mimic them as closely as possible. And then you figure out what you fight against and what you really love and want to explore more.
And don't be afraid to evolve your style, because a lot of artists just don't stick to one style forever. I have some artists who evolve like every 2 years, the style will just change a little bit. And in 10 years, it's completely different, because you're allowed to change it. You're allowed to evolve, because every year you might say, oh, I feel like I'm more comfortable with this style right now. And then what's so cool is you actually will bring your old style into the new style. You will bring back some elements from the old to the new to make it your own. And then eventually in 10 years, if you actually look at your artwork, you'll be like, oh my God, I have done so many artworks and look at my style have changed so much. And I'm really happy with my style right now, but maybe in 5 years, I will evolve again. Don't don't be afraid to do that. If you look at all like the famous artists, they always somehow will start to evolve their style as well.
Designers are the same, you know, you look at famous
Yeah.
designers who've been working for 20, 30 years, and their style evolves as well as their own personal, just
Yep.
their person evolves. And
Yep.
when you look at fine art movements and, you know, Bauhaus ran its course, surrealism ran its course because,
Yep.
and I hate to use the word trend in this scenario, but that's really what it is. It's like
Yep.
things fall in and out of favor,
Yep.
not necessarily in a commercial sense, but in things that people want to be looking at in
Yep.
just like a very visual,
Yep.
I like looking at this sense.
Yep. And create, I would say if you are really good, create pop art. Pop art is always fun. Like I have not seen a lot of people using this kind of style to create fashion illustration yet. So that's something for you to think about.
I think that's the end of our questions.
Is this
Yeah.
it? Anything
Um,
you want to like go over? I mean, my advice for all the illustrator is don't give up. Don't give up easily. It's just the famous one always have to do a lot of work. They will always think, "Oh my God, this artwork is going to like make me famous." But no, they will keep doing it until one day they're like, "Yes, I'm going to be like, I make it. I finally have made it." And I can tell you that always listen to people's advice. And if you have a coach, always listen to your coach because they will know what works for you. Whatever you draw, I can tell you that sometimes your favorite artwork is not the one that make you famous. It's probably the one that you'll be like, it's all right, but that will get the most attention.
yeah, there's definitely something to be said about things that are more mass appeal.
Yeah, it's a mass appeal because unless you have a really good niche market, you know exactly what your followers want or your fans want, your customers want, then sure, keep doing that. But if you're still like searching for the path, then I would say listen to people that you can trust and they will guide you and people with experience because they will know what works and what not and how to create like what kind of artworks you can create to put it online at the online store that will sell, and they will also like give you suggestions on how to promote yourself. I think right now a lot of artists are lacking this. They don't really know how to promote themselves. They will produce their artwork and assume that people will love it and will hire them, and this is like a misconception, and I want you to know that you have to put effort in it before people starting to come in and ask for like ask to hire you and like ask you for some really awesome custom works.
To piggyback off of that, even though I really hate that word because Clubhouse really ruins that term piggybacking, you know what I mean.
Yes, yes, yes.
But like going off of what you were saying, you know, illustrators, we practice drawing constantly, painting, whatever medium you're using, but y'all don't practice approaching people and talking to people and emailing people at like because these are all skills that are required of us, especially freelancers, especially because you're freelancers are constantly hustling for the new gig, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so all like you can sit there and be like, I'm not good at cold calling, I'm not good at emailing, I'm not good at talking to people. You weren't good at drawing. You may have thought you were, but you were not in the
Yep.
beginning.
Yep.
Nobody is good at the thing in the beginning. And
Yep.
so you need to put in a certain amount of time practicing and talking to people. Um, I mean, the Patreon group is really good because y'all are on the Discord a lot and sharing things, which is great. But the
Yeah,
business
we
side,
yeah, we
the
do a lot of
promotion
things.
side, that's like just as important to practice as it is your actual illustration skills.
Yeah.
And it requires practice. A friend and I were talking a little bit about this concept of shamelessness the other day. And
Explain.
do not mistake shamelessness with rudeness. You never want to be rude. What I mean by shamelessness is don't be embarrassed about approaching people, and then don't be embarrassed if they never contact you back.
Yeah,
Okay, it'll
that's
happen. It will always happen. You think everyone writes me back? No, not everyone writes me back.
yes, me too. There are times I'll be like,
I'm looking. Okay, there's a specific company. I'm looking right at you. Write
me
me
too,
back.
me too, me
Write me
too.
back.
Trust me, there's a
But
particular brand I really want to work with,
you
but I
have to
have to
you
think.
have to swallow that pride and just be a little shameless about it. Be like, fine,
Yep,
fine, don't write me back.
yep,
We'll follow up with you in a week.
yep.
Don't bother them like crazy though. But yeah, like have a little like just buck up and like
And
those,
grab,
those are also
yeah.
skills you got to work on.
You want to reach out to as many people as you want, and you can. And then also at the same time, when you actually get to see them, find a way to promote yourself. Like tell them who you are, what you do. Sure, maybe 9 out of 10 people will be like, whatever, you're just like an artist. But maybe one person will be like, you know what? Your works are really cool. I want to work with you. This is how opportunities happen. Even maybe there's no like job at this moment, they will like, I'm gonna create something so that you can be part of this. So yeah, you just have to, in a really rude term, you have to whore yourself out.
Marcus, that's inappropriate content for YouTube.
Oh yeah. So
You're
yes,
so used to talking to your illustrators behind a paywall. You forget. We have to keep things clean.
fine. So you have to sell yourself. You have to find your
That's not
way.
much better.
You have to find a way to sell yourself and figure out who you want to work with. And also with your style, see which brand will align with your illustration works. Aim for those brands. Don't scatter and just like, I want to do this brand, I wouldn't do this brand, because at one point you will also change your style to suit that brand that might not work for you. Like I have artists who will only concentrate on drawing Moschino, Marc Jacobs, uh, those two brands. And then I have people who will be like, oh, I love Rick Owens. I will only concentrate on Rick Owens. And you know that if you like to draw Moschino, you probably won't be drawing Rick Owens because they are two different like aesthetic.
Like fun and bubbly and
And super dark
ironic
and
and
gothic.
colorful, and then like Rick Owens like very drapey and
Yeah.
dark and like very
So
maxy.
you have to know where you go, like where you think you want to stand. Like, are you going to align with this brand, or are you going to align with this brands? And then afterwards, start to create artworks that will get their attention. I think that is what will work best for artists who are looking for opportunities, who are just starting to build a portfolio. If
We
you
were
have,
talking about this before in terms of promotion. It's like you have to promote. It's not enough to just like put something up there. You
yeah,
have to figure out ways to promote and actually promote it across your social media, like buy advertising if you need to, use Pinterest. Let me tell you something about promoting. And I do promote my online store, but I promote YouTube videos
yep,
more, except for your like 5 stalkers, like the super fans. Every creator on the planet has some super fans, and that's great. Every creator needs super fans. I
yep,
love my super fans. I was joking on Twitter, like, if your YouTube video doesn't have a super fan that says first, is it really a YouTube video? So I love my super fans. I love the ones who are like fighting to say first. That's great.
yep, yep.
But except for those like 5 super fans, not everyone is reading every single one of your posts. And so you might think that you're promoting too much. You're not. You might think you're posting about something too much. You're not.
Yep.
Not everyone is reading every single thing that you put out there.
Yep.
So promote more than you think you should, and you'll probably still be under promoting.
Exactly. Especially when it comes to Instagram stories, not a lot of people are actually looking at your stories. That's why you have to constantly post it and promote it. And don't be afraid to promote your works, because you can look at other brands, fashion brands, when they have a new product. The stories are every single day you will see stories on that particular product. But are you tired of it? No, because it's the brand's like strategy. They have to market the product. Obviously, they have to do this. I'm not going to like say, oh my God, you're so annoying. I'm going to unfollow you. If the followers actually love your work, they understand. They're like, that's fine. Don't worry about it. You can promote your artwork. It's your platform. Do whatever works for you. Don't be afraid saying that, oh, I'm going to lose followers because I promote too much of my work. If those followers unfollow you, they are not your true followers. They're not your fans.
I follow Quanta Tracing Horse on Instagram, and I have seen literally 100 Instagram stories from her wearing her Met Gala dress, and I love all of them.
Yep.
I've seen her wear that beautiful metallic dress with all of her native, jewelry and everything. I like all of them, and she's posted 100 times. It's fine. It's fine. Girl, keep posting. They're beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Because she is proud of what she wore at the Met Gala. And for example, if you're an artist, you're proud of your work. Obviously, I'm going to promote it all the time. And
she posts all her fan art in her Instagram stories, by the way. I've seen some really cool stuff from her or from her fans.
Yeah, so you can also do this kind of fan art too. But one thing I will say to illustrators who plan to do more, like a lot of fan art, don't. Because once you start doing just fan art, you will lose a lot of followers once you switch gear.
So the switching gears, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my artists told me. It's like, once you start drawing Kim, you have to continue to draw Kim, or else you're going to lose followers. And no one's going to look at your other work. So be really, really careful of what you draw and how to build your Instagram grid, because that will determine how brands or companies will look at your work, and they determine whether they want to hire you or not. This is something that I coach too. I tell people how to create a grid and what works for them, what not. Yeah, a lot of things when it comes to the business side of fashion illustration. It's not just
you're busy. You do a lot.
I am busy. But at the same time, I enjoy what I'm doing. I get excited when brands show my artist's work on their Instagram stories, or when I do a contest and those works actually show up on the brand's account. I get super excited, and I'm really proud of all whatever the artists are doing, because they deserve the spotlight. They deserve that exposure. I mean, my job is to find a way to get you the ticket to be in front of that door. But once you're at that door, whether you can open the door, you can get more opportunities or not, is really up to you. I can only do so much for you. I think
this is why, because of all the things Marcus does, this is why I called him a connector. Like, I couldn't find the perfect word because he does so many things. I'm like, I think connector is a good word for Marcus.
Yes. LVMH, hire me. I will connect you to different illustrators to do different projects.
For sure. For sure.
Yes. Do you have any other questions you want to ask me? Because I'm here.
Yeah, so if you have any questions for Marcus, drop them in the comments below, or you can check out, I'm going to have all his links, his Instagram, his Patreon, and everything in the description box. So hit him up, join his Patreon community. You will see me floating around. I will slap my eyebrows on and join a Zoom meeting, all those good things. So please give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new today. If you loved having Marcus on, let me know in the comments if you would like any other specific interviews on my channel. And
like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Yeah. Please. The thumbs up actually do help my channel a lot. So share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, drop your comments, like all those ways you show me love. And I will see you in the next video.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.